I believe that is about my time, Miss. I got about 30 seconds left. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I'm going to leave the step if, in fact, they believe that a full removal for the second part of my speech, because I don't want to continue on with that. But the reduced review panel has an interesting part to it, because you can go from getting sanctions to actually putting in a full panel hearing, which could actually lead you to worse circumstances. So I have some questions about that, and I'll be raising that later on in my speech. Thank you.
Thank the member for the intervention. When we return to second reading of Bill C-9, the member will have 6 minutes and 50 seconds left in his speech. Statements by members. Déclaration de député. L'honorable député de Parkdale.
The honourable member for Parkdale High Park.
Speaker, gun violence is a reality in every community. My riding of Parkdale High Park is no exception. As my staff have heard repeatedly from my constituents, we must do everything in our power to combat gun violence. To date, we've banned assault-styled weapons. We've cracked down on illegal trafficking. We've committed $250 million to address gang violence. With Bill C-21, we are going further. We're implementing a national freeze on the sale, purchase, transfer, and importation of handguns. We are responding to the pleas of women who are victims of intimate partner violence, which often turns lethal simply because of the presence of handguns in the home. We're responding to the pleas of racialized and religious minorities who've asked that the red flag laws which enable firearms to be removed by court order also protect the anonymity of those targeted by hate. We're responding to the pleas of mental health advocates who contend rightly that handguns in Canadian homes result in increased deaths by suicide. The only pleas that we are ignoring, Mr. Speaker, are those of the gun lobby, who would criticize us for working to keep Canadians safe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for King Vaughan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am honoured to rise today in the House to recognize Italian Heritage Month. Over 40,000 Italian Canadians live in King Vaughan, and I am a proud ancestor of an Italian Canadian. In the 1950s, my grandfather immigrated to Canada and worked as a bricklayer for many years to support his family. He came to this nation with nothing but the clothing on his back and a few dollars in his pocket. My grandfather and numerous other Italian Canadians became entrepreneurs, business owners, community leaders, and as a result of their hard work and devotion, a desire to achieve. Italian Canadians make an important contribution to this country, and they continue to make the riding of King Vaughan and our entire country better every day. Voglio ringraziare tutti gli italiani nella mia equazione nostro paese per tutto quello che hanno fatto a contribuire al Canada. Mr. Presidente, un grande bacio a loro. Grazie.
The honourable member for Fredericton.
Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to recognize and show my immense gratitude to healthcare workers. With the summer days among us and the possibility to finally rejoice together, the echo of the sounds of pots and pans showing support to healthcare workers may have dissipated, but in our hearts we must continue to be thankful and recognize the essential importance of their work. From the nurses who are working in Indigenous communities and remote communities, to family physicians who are accompanying us at every stage of our life, to those in long-term care who face the tragedy of the pandemic head-on, thank you for your sacrifice and dedication. Words will never be enough. Much work needs to be done, and we must commit to improving working conditions and solidifying our system. We can only achieve that by making every decision with a focus on the well-being of healthcare workers themselves. I encourage all members in this House to join me in celebrating their heroic efforts. Thank you. Willie Wynn.
L'honorable député de Shefford.
The honourable member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, June 15th is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. It's a time to remember the importance of opening our eyes to the suffering that some people endure. Elder abuse is insidious and unacceptable, but unfortunately still very present. Whether it's a slap in the face, a hurtful word, or financial fraud, we need to raise awareness of this social problem, encourage people to recognize it, and prevent all types of abuse. But beyond the abuse, more and more organizations want to see good treatment to achieve a caring community. Their incomes, the incomes of seniors, need to be increased. COVID has caused a great deal of isolation and financial stress for seniors. Rising inflation affects those on fixed incomes, which many seniors are. To allow them to remain in their homes, the old age security pension needs to increase without discrimination on the basis of age. And healthcare transfers must also be increased without condition. Seniors have all the same rights as other citizens. We must allow them to age with care and compassion and dignity. The Honourable Member for Orleans. Mr. Speaker, June 6th, I had the great pleasure of visiting the new state-of-the-art donor center in my reading.
Plasma Orleans Shopping Center. Donated plasma can be given to those in need of plasma transfusion or to create plasma protein products such as immunoglobulins, which can be used to help Canadians in need. Currently, there's an increased need for plasma as more and more conditions are being treated with immunoglobulins. Toute personne.
Any eligible individual can also give plasma as often as 2 weeks. I want to thank all the people of Orleans who have already used this facility, and I encourage every eligible individual to think about making an appointment to give plasma. Visit the Canadian Blood Services website. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Simcoe North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a back row special for you here today, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Mariposa Folk Festival in Orillia has been an iconic cultural event since its first edition in 1961 and has grown into a cultural highlight of summer in Simcoe North. This year's festival will be a celebration of the return of the festival, of live music, and yes, of the community. In the last 60-plus years, a who's who of folk legends have graced Mariposa's stages. Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Leonard Cohen, Gordon Lightfoot, Buffy St. Marie, and many more. The Mariposa Folk Festival will take place from July 8th to 10th in beautiful Tudhope Park on the shores of Lake Couchiching in Orillia. It celebrates the past while bringing in diverse, contemporary folk music to new generations. I would like to thank the Mariposa Folk Foundation and all of the volunteers for their continued work in promotion and preservation of folk art in Canada through song, story, and craft. I invite all who see this message to come visit us in Orillia this summer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right. The Honourable Member for Calgary Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to acknowledge a very special event I had the honor of attending in Calgary. The 7th Arab Festival was an extraordinary event showcasing live performances, folk shows, cultural tents, and delicious foods from across the globe. The celebration was especially meaningful this year because of the recent recognition of Arab Heritage Month. Thank you to my honorable colleagues for supporting Bill C-232 and providing over 1 million Arab Canadians with another opportunity to showcase their cultures. I would like to say a special thank you to Myrna Khalid, Mohammed Awada, Ala Hamadan, Mohammed Hamdan, Bridges for Newcomers, and all the volunteers who put this festival together. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Brampton South.
Mr. Speaker, summer is right around the corner, and so is Brampton's annual Bike the Creek event coming on June 18th. Bramptonians of all ages have a chance to bike through the beautiful valleys, trails, and landmarks in Peel. This year marks the 8th annual ride, and I want to thank all Bike Brampton board members, volunteers, and organizers. A big shout out to David and Dale Lang, Kevin Montgomery, for their leadership. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle is so important, and it is amazing to see how biking can help us reduce our carbon footprint and stay active. Cycling can improve your heart, lungs, circulation, and mental health. And it's a great way to explore our communities. So let's all get pedaling this weekend and discover the joy of cycling. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Moose Jaw Lake Centre, Lanigan.
Mr. Speaker, I once asked my youngest daughter what her favorite color was. Do you know what she said? Bacon. Mr. Speaker, you can't get more Canadian than that. I love bacon too. And what does bacon go great on? The iconic bacon cheeseburger. Every part of that sandwich represents a different part of Saskatchewan agriculture, and agriculture is under attack. Now this government wants to slap a warning label on Canadian ground beef. Be it their carbon tax, rampant inflation, or now warning labels, This government wants to starve Canadians. Mr. Speaker, adding a warning label on beef is yet another attack on Saskatchewan. It will hurt our beef industry and raise costs for already struggling families. Why won't this government just stop interfering and let us eat our bacon cheeseburgers in peace?
The honourable member for Canada Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, a warm smile is the universal language of kindness. Have you ever met someone whose smile just pulled you in, whose smile radiated kindness? I rise today to recognize my constituent and team member, Joanne Sass-Williams, as she begins her retirement next week. Joanne has one of those smiles, instantly earning trust and comforting those around her. Her quiet confidence, giant heart, and dedication to the constituents of Canada Carleton over the last 7 years is incredible. A void will be left in our office as she leaves us next week. However, I know her husband Lloyd, kids Laura and Curtis, and especially her grandbabies Addie and Melody will be overjoyed to have more of her time. Joanne reminds me that kindness is a silent smile, a friendly word, a nod of encouragement. Kindness is the single most powerful thing that we can give to each other, and Joanne has given it in spades. Thank you, Joanne.
The honourable member for Calgary-Midnapore.
On Sunday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs said it was unacceptable for a high-level Canadian official to attend a Russia Day celebration. The buck stops with me, she claimed. As a former Canadian Foreign Services officer, I can personally attest that at Global Affairs, you only do what you are told to do. Orders are given and you are expected to execute them without question. And nowhere is this more clear than with the top diplomat, the minister herself. If the direction came from the minister, it is a continued reflection of this Liberal government's approach to foreign policy. It is careless, thoughtless, and reactive, and it starts with our foreign minister. The minister owes it to Canadians and to our ally Ukraine to explain why a Canadian official attended this celebration. It is an affront not only to democracy, but also to diplomacy.
The honourable member for Abbotsford.
Last November, BC's Fraser Valley experienced a massive flood. Thousands were evacuated as the Nooksack River in Washington state sent floodwaters pouring into Canada. Sumas Prairie, the heart of Abbotsford's agricultural industry, suffered catastrophic losses of livestock, crops, and buildings. This week, City Council approved a plan for long-term flood protection at a price of close to $3 billion. The goal is not just to rebuild old dikes, but to construct new flood-resilient infrastructure to 21st century standards. Modern engineering will not only keep us safe, it will avert billions of dollars in future economic losses. In fact, hundreds of constituents have written to me asking the Liberal government to fund this infrastructure. Today, I will personally deliver these letters to the Deputy Prime Minister, and I plead with her to listen to our cries for help and deliver the support that we've asked for. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Windsor-Tecumseh.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday, two of the hardest-working hockey teams from two of the hardest-working communities faced off in Game 7 of the OHL Championship. The Hamilton Bulldogs and our own Windsor Spitfires gave hockey fans one of the most thrilling championship series in memory. Although we came up short, I rise today to say congratulations to the Western Conference champion Windsor Spitfires on a great season, and thank you for giving our community and our fans an unbelievable and electric playoff run. I also like to say congratulations to the Bulldogs, the city of Hamilton, and their incredible fans that showed class and grit throughout the series. Good luck in St. John, and let's bring the Memorial Cup back to Ontario. The Spitfires coach, Mark Savard, and the Spitfires players, today we stand Windsor proud, and we'll be there when the season starts to cheer the boys on all the way. Go Spits, go!
The honourable member for Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing.
Monsieur le Président, les Canadiens.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are looking forward to the summer activities and seeing everything that this great country has to offer. For those who are looking for a great tourist destination, Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing has it all. Kapuskasing will be celebrating their biggest party of the year with their St. John's Day Festival this weekend.
Festival has a great lineup of musicians. Be sure to add Manitoulin Country Fest and St. Joseph Island's Go North Music Festival to your schedule. Learn about Indigenous culture by attending National Indigenous Peoples Day events or the many powwows, including the 60th Wikwimikung Annual Cultural Festival. There's also a host of Canada Day and Pride festivities, and don't forget the White River Winnie the Pooh Festival. Are engines music to your ears? Get revved up at the North Shore Challenge Drag Race or the Smooth Truck Fest. Love the outdoors? Put your line down at the 40th Annual Wawa Salmon Derby. Love food? Drop by Espanola's Poutine Fest or Little Currents Rib Fest. You see, Mr. Speaker, AMK has something for everyone. Come join us.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, say what you will, but representing the monarchy is royally expensive. $100,000 for catering on the plane, not including hotels or meals out during the trip, just catering on the plane. $100,000 for 9 days. I don't know what they ate, but it had to be good. You don't have to be embarrassed or have an unbalanced sense of responsibility to take the world's money like that. We're talking about taxpayers' money to treat yourselves and your court like a great lord. One thing is certain. If the position of Governor General is symbolic, its expenses are not. Not only do we want to hear the ridiculous justifications for the Governor General, but we would also like to hear our colleagues from the other parties explain their attachment to the monarchy, because for us it's clear. The monarchy is an anti-democratic institution from the past that serves no purpose and costs far too much money.
The Honourable Member for Brantford-Brant.
Mr. Speaker, 6 years ago in 2016, the government conducted consultations on reforming the judicial complaints process. After inexcusable delays, we are finally starting to debate Bill C-9, which has the potential to increase confidence in the judicial system. This is long overdue. This bill would replace the process through which the conduct of federally appointed judges is reviewed by the Canadian Judicial Council and would enable a judge to be removed for office for reasons including infirmity, misconduct, or failure in the due execution of judicial office. By modifying the existing judicial review process, a straightforward process for complaints serious enough to warrant removal from office will be established. Our justice system needs this piece of legislation to be implemented years ago. Canadians must be assured that our judges need to be held accountable and to perform their duty in the best interest of our society and our country. I urge all members in the House to support this bill. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton Mountain.
Speaker, it's Italian Heritage Month, and my riding of Hamilton Mountain is home to a vibrant Italian community, 12,000 strong. One of my constituents, Alfredo De Luca, learned the art of cooking from his mom back when he was a child in Calabria, Italy. There he learned to perfect his sauce, make the handmade pasta he uses to craft his lasagna, and find the perfect spice for his meatballs. Today, Alfredo and his wife Tanya and son Alfredo bring those traditional recipes to the people of Hamilton Mountain at Alfredo's Place on Fennel Avenue East. He opened the restaurant after an accomplished career at Stelco, and his mouth-watering fresh dishes now draw crowds. Family-run traditional businesses like Alfredo's are the heart of what makes Hamilton, well, Hamilton. And I am thankful to Alfredo and his family for sharing their traditions with all of us. Happy Italian Heritage Month to all who are celebrating.
Oral questions, question orale. The Honourable Member, l'Honorable...
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable.
Jamais dans ce pays.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians have never been so poorly served by their government. Everything the Liberals touch goes south, and people are paying the price. If you want a passport, you'd better be ready to stand in line. If you want to get on a plane, same thing. If you don't have a smartphone and you're traveling to the U.S., arrive can. Got an EI problem? You'll be waiting for a check for months. Mr. Speaker, it's this government's turn to stand in line. Which minister will stand up and take responsibility for the chaos?
L'Honorable...
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we understand that Canadians are frustrated. They've been following the rules for 2 years. They've been staying at home. They want to travel. They want to go on vacation. We are doing everything. There is very high demand at the moment. The government is responding, changing processes. We are hiring more people to serve Canadians. And we will not stop until this is fixed. The Honourable Member, Mr. Speaker, the problem here is this government's chaotic management. On COVID, the Minister of Health has been slow at every turn. On passports, the Minister did not seem to realize that post-COVID, Canadians would want to travel. On immigration, the Minister was asking Ukrainians to make an appointment online, Mr. Speaker. On international affairs, the Minister allowed a Canadian official to go to a party at the Russian embassy. On military matters, the former Minister did nothing to protect women. On public safety, the Minister is misleading Canadians, and we have total chaos on governing. Why is this Liberal Prime Minister abandoning Canadians? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, for 2 years, Canadians have been suffering this pandemic, and they want to start their lives again. And here at the Government of Canada, we are hiring more staff. We are extending hours. We are doing everything we can to respond to the increased demand. Mr. Speaker, we know Canadians are frustrated. We will be there for them. And we will change processes to ensure they receive the services they need. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Well, Mr. Speaker, another example of Liberal incompetence, the mismanagement of the Pinocchio affair. 2 senior ministers contradicted the Minister of Public Safety at committee, testifying that no police force had specifically requested the Emergency Measures Act. The President of the Privy Council and the Minister of Emergency Preparedness said that they are not aware of any recommendation from law enforcement. There seems to be division in the Liberal camp, Mr. Speaker. The Minister of Public Safety has lost the confidence of his own colleagues. When will the Prime Minister demand his resignation? One moment, please. I'd like to remind members that in the House, we try to ensure that there are intelligent speeches, but calling each other names, that's not something I like to see in this House. The Honourable Minister, well, Mr. Speaker, the people who are really suffering division is the official opposition. They are having a lot of trouble agreeing on anything. Meanwhile, while governments are trying to help Canadians with their problems, what is the opposition doing? They're spending their time filibustering. The Conservatives love filibustering. They think of it from dawn till night.
The Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, $3,100 in food and alcohol costs for a flight to Dubai may seem normal to these Spend EP Liberals, but it's beyond the vast majority of Canadians who struggle every day to pay their bills, let alone imagine a flight. But that didn't stop the Finance Minister from lecturing to Canadians how good they have it from her podium in Toronto, where they charged $1,000 a table to hear her hurry up and wait approach to help.
If I could just interrupt, I believe we have a problem with interpretation? Okay, we'll have to start over, but we'll just get that straightened out first. Is the translation fixed? Est-ce que la traduction fonctionne? Elle fonctionne. The translation is working. From the top, please. The Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, $3,100 in food and alcohol for a flight to Dubai may seem normal to these Spend EP Liberals, but it's beyond the reach of a vast majority of Canadians who struggle every day to pay their bills, let alone imagine taking a flight. But that didn't stop the Finance Minister from lecturing to Canadians how good they have it from her podium in Toronto, where they charged $1,000 a table to hear her hurry up and wait approach to helping Canadians struggle with record high inflation. Does the minister not understand Canadians need help, not lectures today? And will she start listening to Conservative proposals to fight inflation?
Hey. The Honourable Minister for Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, unlike this side of the House, the opposition has no affordability plan. What they propose is that Canadians put their money into Bitcoin. Well, Mr. Speaker, there's a movie about that, and it's called Risky Business. Had you listened to the Conservatives, you'd have lost your shirt in the last year. $8.9 billion is what we are going to put into the pockets of Canadians this year. The Conservatives bluff, bluster, and blame. We double down and deliver, Mr.
food costs is no joke to Canadians. Now, these Liberals won't listen to pragmatic suggestions to help fight inflation. They won't stop their inflationary deficit spending. They won't give Canadians a break at the pumps. They think it hurts us, but instead, when they reject our ideas, it hurts Canadians. Yes. Now, hope springs eternal, Mr. Speaker, so I'll try again. Here's an idea. In 2017, Bill Morneau added an inflationary clause to every user fee charged by the Canadian government, from national parks to port fees. They go up automatically. Will the minister get serious on inflation and say no more to the Morneau user fee escalator?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government has been working on affordability and making sure that Canadians can not just make ends meet, but prosper. Mr. Speaker, we tax the 1% and put more money in the pockets of Canadians. The Canada Worker Benefit is going to benefit 3 million Canadians. A couple will make $2,500 more, and a single person, $1,200. $500 if you're struggling for housing. Mr. Speaker, the other side thinks it has a plan, but I know one thing from Alberta, Mr. Speaker. That side is all hat, no cattle.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, 2 days standing in line to get a passport, and all because this government didn't foresee that traveling would be popular this summer. And then, when people do get a passport, what happens? Well, they head to the airport, and yet somehow the government didn't see that coming either. They didn't realize that more passports equals busier airports. Mr. Speaker, just think. These ministers who can't seem to foresee anything are the same ones who spend their time telling Quebec how to manage its health system, its infrastructure, its language. Instead of meddling in Quebec's affairs, why don't they deal with their own problems? They certainly have enough of them. The Honourable Minister of Family. The Bloc Québécois is welcome to take an interest in Canadian passports. But I do understand Canadians' frustration throughout the country. They want to get their passport. They've been following rules and staying at home for 2 years. We understand that Canadians want to travel again. The demand has skyrocketed. We are responding. We have hired 600 people. We will be hiring 600 further staff. Offices are reopening, but demand is very high right now. We are doing everything we can to respond to Canadians' needs throughout the country. The Honourable Member. Mr. Speaker, the only thing this government seems to see coming is access to information requests. When it comes to hiding information from the media and the public, they're officially the best. The Information Commissioner got 7,000 complaints last year. That's an increase of 70%. This government is the Wayne Gretzky of cover-ups. And when you look at the least transparent departments, it's clear what's happening. The PMO itself clearly setting an example. Immigration, national revenue, borders. Mr. Speaker, if the federal government has so many skeletons to hide, why not clean out its own closet instead of meddling in Quebec jurisdiction? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Commissioner for her work on all this. Openness, transparency, and accountability are key principles for our government. We have invested more than $50 million additional dollars to improve access to information. And we are currently reviewing the regulatory process for access to information. We will continue to explore options to improve the process, increase proactive disclosure, and reduce delays. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Canadians are going hungry. Canadians are going to lose their homes because of the cost of living going up. And this Minister of Finance made an announcement today that doesn't include anything new to help Canadians now. In fact, for a lot of Canadians, all they'll receive from this announcement is $7. $7 extra doesn't even pay for a liter of milk and a loaf of bread. Will this government finally realize people need immediate help and increase the financial support to families that need help, everyday families, by $500 to $1,000 as we are calling for?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we understand the challenge that Canadians are facing at the pump, at the grocery store, and as the Honourable Member knows, inflation is rising around the world. Here in Canada, we have the lowest inflation. It's still rising, and that's why in our budget we were very clear. And we've been working on affordability for a long time, Mr. Speaker. Dental care for Canadian families, doubling support provided through the first-time home buyers tax, workers' benefit, the Canada Workers' Benefit, Mr. Speaker, $2,400 for a couple, $1,200 for a single worker, a $500 payment to those who are facing housing affordability challenge. And Mr. Speaker, once again this year, the basic income amount in everybody's taxes in Canada goes up. More money in the pockets of Canadians.
The honourable member for Burnaby South.
Mr. Speaker, during this difficult period, Canadians are having trouble making ends meet. And the Minister of Finance announced that she will deliver assistance. For many people, it will only represent $7 more. That is nothing. It won't help people who are having trouble paying for groceries. When will this government follow our plan to increase financial assistance for people and raise it from $500 to $1,000 to help families during this very difficult period? The Honourable Minister of Tourism. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. We know that inflation is going up throughout the world, and here in Canada, there's a less severe increase, but it's still concerning to Canadians at the pump and at the grocery store. And that is why in our budget we brought forward a dental plan for Canadians, as well as the Canadian Workers Benefit, which will give $2,400 more to couples, $1,200 for a single worker. We have a plan for affordability, and we will follow it.
Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
Canadians are struggling to make ends meet. They're seeing the price of everything skyrocket, from gasoline to groceries, and all the while, Liberal officials jet set around the world in decadence, drinking champagne, and if you can believe it, eating caviar. The $93,000 cost of catering on one of these flights would feed a Canadian family for years. Canadians are looking to catch a break, not catch a slap in the face. When will the Liberals set their entitlements aside and finally put Canadians first?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, go ahead, Mel.
The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, obviously we know that inflation is having an impact on Canadian lives, but I would like to take my colleague back on memory lane when he refers to the expenses linked to alcohol. 348 bottles Stephen Harper's delegation took when heading to South Africa in 2013. So I know that I just wanted to state the facts, and of course I hope
Order. Order.
So that justifies your corruption. Yeah, good one.
Order.
I don't drink as much as you do.
Order. Order! Thank you. The Honourable Minister, please continue.
well, I think clearly member opposites need to take back their fake outrage. Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
Well, the minister wants to talk about what happened a decade ago or more. We're talking about what's happening when they've been in office. We're reading stories in the newspaper about Canadians who can't afford a full tank of gas, and they're running out of gas on their way to work in record numbers across the country, not being able to afford groceries, prescriptions, even to turn on the air conditioning during a heat wave because of inflationary pressures. What we're asking from this government is to take a reality check, not take a luxurious flight and spend $93,000 on catering when they could do with a little bit less. When will they put their entitlements aside and put Canadians first?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, I'd love to have known where that rhetoric was supporting Canadians when we were in this House trying to pass C2 and C8 and the Budget Implementation Act, which is billions of dollars that are supposed to go into the hands of Canadians. Instead, we took the reins. We made sure that we could get legislation passed so that we can get $8.9 billion into the hands of Canadians. And Mr. Speaker, under childcare, which these people on the other side just want to shred, in Toronto alone, a family will save $19,790 a year. That will afford groceries and gas, Mr. Speaker, and we're doing this across the country because this government puts Canada first.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, on the one hand, we have the Minister of Public Safety, who repeatedly said that he invoked the Emergency Measures Act. That was historic. It had never been done before. And he said that he did it at the request of police forces. But the problem is that, on the other hand, all police forces, without exception, said at committee that they had never asked for this. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the minister to do the only honourable thing left for him, resign. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we've been very clear. We will always protect Canadians. We will always meet their needs and protect them, and that is why we invoked the Emergency Measures Act. We sought police advice in that process, and we used that advice to inform our decisions. Now, on the other side of the House, the Conservatives encouraged the illegal blockades, and they should apologize. The Honourable Member, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Emergency Preparedness and former Chief of Police mentioned at committee, in reference to the Emergencies Act, I don't think it would have been appropriate for law enforcement to ask for the act, and they didn't. So the reality here is that we are dealing with a Minister of Public Safety who has zero credibility. There's only one thing left for him to do, only one honourable thing, to resign. What is he waiting for? The Honourable Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this government will always defend our decision to invoke the Emergencies Act. It was a necessary decision. The Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police support that decision. Same thing for the Ontario Police Chiefs. And other organizations are also supporting the decision. And why? Because it was necessary. On this side of the House, we understand that, but the Conservatives don't seem to. They should apologize for their own role in the illegal blockades.
Mr. Speaker, the Public Safety Minister continues to hide the truth from Canadians on the use of the Emergencies Act. The Minister cannot just tell Canadians that the Act was necessary. He must show them. That's his job. To quote the Emergency Preparedness Minister, I do not believe that would have been an appropriate thing for law enforcement to ask, and they did not ask. The Public Safety Minister has misled Canadians and Parliament. Will he resign today?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we have been consistent and clear on this side of the House that the decision to invoke the Emergencies Act was necessary because it was needed to restore public safety. But let me quote from the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, OACP President Chief Gary Conn, who said, in our view, the Emergencies Act provides the appropriate authorities and powers for police services to ensure the rule of law and the safety of citizens. This has been our experience, particularly during the Freedom Convoy 2022. That's law enforcement for you, Mr. Speaker. It's the Conservatives who exacerbated their situation with their reckless behavior.
The Honourable Member for Miramichi-Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, more diversion tactics to avoid answering one simple question. The Public Safety Minister has misled Canadians and Parliament. Law enforcement did not ask to have the use of the Emergencies Act. It's just that simple. To quote the Emergency Preparedness Minister, I'm not aware of any recommendation of law enforcement. Mr. Speaker, will the minister do the honourable thing and resign today, right now?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, doing the honourable thing means protecting Canadians. That's why we invoke the Emergencies Act, Mr. Speaker. Doing the honourable thing means not taking that decision in a vacuum, which means consulting with police, searching for their advice, and using that advice to inform the decision of the Emergencies Act, which is why police associations across the country supported the decision. And it is the Conservatives who knew all too well, Mr. Speaker, that by making reckless statements to ask the illegal blockades to double down, to entrench, that they were undermining public safety, and they should apologize for that role. They undermined public safety. On this side of the House, we protect it.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Well, Mr. Speaker, there's a problem in how Canada's greenhouse gas emissions are calculated. The problem is that Canada, which is the fourth biggest oil exporter in the world, is not held accountable for what it sells. Between 2016 and 2020, Canada as a whole emitted 3.6 billion tons of greenhouse gases, but EcoJustice calculated that its exports of fossil fuels caused 4.4 billion tons. That's elsewhere in the world. So Canada's exports are polluting 29% more than all of Canada. Does the minister think it's acceptable to wash his hands of this? The Honourable Minister of the Environment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Greenhouse gas inventorying 101. The system used by Canada is the same one as the whole world uses. It's an IPCC measure. It's very simple. Emissions are calculated at the point of use. So if we use the oil here, it goes in our emissions, or if it's used in the US or in Europe, it's counted in their emissions. That's how everyone in the world handles this inventorying, including Canada. The honourable member. Even if Baie du Nord produces the minimum of 500 million additional barrels, the minister, who seems to be washing his hand, has said that the extraction will be carbon neutral by 2050. But the oil doesn't just pollute when it's extracted, it pollutes when it's used. It won't be carbon neutral once it's used in a vehicle here or abroad. Climate change doesn't care if it's Canada or another country that takes the blame for pollution. We're in the middle of a climate crisis. How can the minister really claim that the Baie du Nord project is carbon neutral? The honourable minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is not a claim. It's a condition placed on the project. This is the first time in the history of the country that the Environmental Assessment Agency is imposing a requirement of carbon neutrality on a project. And I would invite my colleague to read an International Energy Agency report which states that we will be using various sources of energy that don't involve burning that fuel and that instead involve using it for other purposes. The honourable member for Avignon, Lamitis-Matane, Matapédia. Mr. Speaker, it's absurd to hear the minister talking about his support from environmental groups when Équiterre is taking him to court over the Baie du Nord project, and to hear him say that the number of additional barrels of oil will have no impact. It's absurd to hear him talk about carbon neutral oil as if it were green oil. And it's absurd to hear him defend Canada's technical accountability on pollution while ignoring the impact of oil exports. The minister is talking, but we're really hearing oil companies through him. Does he realize that? The Honourable Minister of the Environment. Mr. Speaker, as I said, we are implementing a ceiling on greenhouse gas emissions. And not only that, it will decrease over time so that we can meet our 2030 and 2050 objectives. And no matter how much oil is produced, businesses will have to meet that threshold in order to ensure that Canada will meet its 2030 and 2050 objectives. And that's what we will do. Thank you very much.
For Peterborough, Kawartha.
This Liberal government continues to be reactive rather than prepared. The VP of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce said if the Government of Canada has a plan for tourism, they've never shown it to us. Mark Webber of Customs and Immigration Union said his border agents are no longer agents, but instead have become IT consultants, and wait times have skyrocketed because of the inefficient ArriveCAN app. He went on to say that they were never consulted on the app. No wonder our airports and land borders are a disaster and an embarrassment. Why would this government create a system without consulting the frontline workers who must implement it?
The Honourable Minister for Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, not only do we have a plan for tourism, this side of the aisle put in $23 billion to make sure that the tourism sector would recover. And who voted against it? That side, Mr. Speaker. Not there for workers, not there for entrepreneurs, not there for tourism operators. This side of the aisle has the backs of tourism operators. A federal tourism growth strategy is coming. We're going to boost tourism, we're going to boost this sector, and we are going to show the world what Canada has to offer.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington.
Backlogs and delays at the border and points of entry are crippling our tourism industry. Whether it's a major event like the Toronto International Film Festival or a small rural event like the Tweed Stampede and Jamboree in Hastings, Lennox and Addington, our tourism industry is hurting. This government needs to take action to alleviate the absolutely unnecessary chaos. Mr. Speaker, when will this government stop slacking and start acting?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps Perhaps the colleagues on the other side of the aisle haven't caught up with the news, but this government has taken off random mass mandatory testing at the airports. It will be moved outside of airports July 1. We have no more PCR tests, no more rapid tests, billions of dollars that have gone to the tourism sector to keep them off. Even the Greater Toronto Airport Authority has sent a letter to us thanking for us doubling down and working to make sure that the airports are functioning. We're going to get this right. The other side can yell and scream all they want, Mr. Speaker. We are going to boost tourism and welcome the world once again.
The honourable member for Calgary Rocky Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, airports are in chaos. Global Affairs is partying with Russian diplomats instead of expelling them. Immigration files are backlogged for years. Violent crime is up. Fraud is endemic. Inflation is out of control. The government doesn't even pretend to care about its deficits. And people are lining up all night just for a chance at a passport appointment. Will a minister stand up and take ownership for this disastrous delivery of basic services?
The Honourable Minister for Family.
Mr. Speaker, we understand that there is an unprecedented demand to travel after these 2 years of pandemic. We are retooling and redoing processes so that we can absolutely serve Canadians as necessary. However, Mr. Speaker, what we're not doing on this side of the House is pretending that there was no pandemic, pretending that it didn't have an impact on a whole wide range of industries, Mr. Speaker. We're taking action. We have been there throughout the pandemic to support Canadians. We've taken responsible decisions, and we're going to continue to do that to serve Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Nunavut.
Imagine your family member needs urgent medical attention. In Nunavut, this means spending thousands of dollars to travel great distances just to access basic health care. If elders need long-term care, there are too few options. Families are forced to send their loved ones across the country, afraid that they will never see them again. Nunavut deserve to have the care they need at home. Why is this government still failing to provide basic health care services to Nunavut?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank the Honourable Member for the very important question. Our government is committed to the Arctic and Northern Policy Framework and Inuit Nunangat new policy, which puts the emphasis on providing better services to the residents of Nunavut and in Inuit Nunangat. Healthcare is one of the priorities that's first on our schedule. We are investing millions in healthcare in the north and a better partnership with Nunavummiut. Merci. Thank you.
The honourable member for Timmins James Bay.
Well, people in Northern Ontario often drive an hour to get to work, and yet rising gas prices are putting serious pressure on working-class families. And Big Oil made $100 billion in profits in the first quarter. That's triple what they made last year. So as the finance minister is hanging with the uber-rich at the Empire Club, this Liberal government does nothing as working-class Canadians are held hostage at the pumps. So when is this government going to tax these obscene oil profits and put the money back in the pockets of working-class Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, as my colleague knows, our budget takes serious measures to address affordability. And the example that I will cite today is the budget proposes to introduce a temporary Canada Recovery Dividend so that big banks and insurance companies, which have turned a big profit during the pandemic, pay a one-time 15% on their above-average tax product, tax it over income of over $1 billion for 2021. Mr. Speaker, the banks made money. We've asked them to pay more. That's how we're going to make sure that we have affordability for all Canadians.
The honourable member for Scarborough Agincourt.
Mr. Speaker, Scarborough Agincourt is home to a large, vibrant Armenian community. Canada and Armenia have deep and long-standing people-to-people ties, and Canada must support Armenians' efforts to improve their democracy. Recently, Special Envoy Stéphane Dion submitted his report to the Minister of Foreign Affairs on how Canada can support Armenians in their efforts to advance democratic progress and build on our relationship. Could the Foreign Affairs Minister share with this House the findings of this report on how Canada can best support Armenia?
The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Of course, I would like to thank my great colleague and friend from Scarborough Agincourt for fantastic work and strong advocacy for the Armenian Armenian community, and we know also that Armenia needs supports for their democracy. And I would like to thank Special Envoy Stéphane Dion for his important report. We welcome his recommendation and look forward to put into place these recommendations into concrete steps. Thank you.
The member for Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, today is the day that the government finally releases its secret plan to fight inflation. It is so secret that there are no new measures in the plan, just a relisting of programs that are already indexed to inflation. Curiously absent is any relief from one of the key drivers of inflation, gasoline and fuel prices. Why does this government continually ignore calls to provide immediate relief to Canadians by lowering the taxes on fuel and gasoline?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, our government has made sure that we index programs to inflation, particularly because we know that at this inflationary cycle in the world economy, that is an important policy to make sure that Canadians have the money they need to pay their bills, buy their groceries, and afford their gas. And when it comes to gas, the Conservatives haven't fully studied their own policy, because we know from evidence that when you take tax off of the pumps, the prices actually don't change, Mr. Speaker. We're going to put money in the pockets of Canadians so that they can afford the goods they need, not listen to half-baked policies from the Conservative opposition.
Honourable member for Simcoe North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure if that honourable member believes that there's collusion in the gasoline price market, but that would be a very serious accusation. Mr. Speaker, I get that this government doesn't want to listen to ideas from this side of the House, but perhaps they might be persuaded by the former Bank of Canada governor who said in order to tame inflation, we need to get oil prices down. Various taxes account for almost 60 cents a litre of gasoline. So, Mr. Speaker, how much higher does gasoline need to go before this government realizes there's a problem?
Honourable Minister.
We understand that inflation is on the rise. It's a global phenomenon caused by the war, the illegal war by Russia on Ukraine, by supply chains opening up after the pandemic, and by China's zero COVID policy. Mr. Speaker, that's why our government is taking this as a whole of government approach, and that's why our budget includes a dental plan for Canadians making less than $90,000 a year, doubling support provided through the first-time home buyers credit. We're increasing the basic tax amount once again this year. And Mr. Speaker, with the Canada Worker Benefit, $2,400 per couple, $1,200 per single worker, 3 million Canadians with more money in their pocket. And that doesn't even include the Canada Child Benefit, which the other side voted against.
The honourable member for Kenora.
Mr. Speaker, my constituents can't afford to fill their gas tank. They're concerned that rising interest rates are going to push them out of their own home. Inflation is skyrocketing, and this government has no plan to address it, Mr. Speaker. Conservatives have proposed to suspend the carbon tax and the GST paid on fuel, and we're calling for the government to rein in spending to control inflation. Given the fact that we are in an affordability crisis, why is the government so opposed to these pragmatic measures that would support Canadians?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for his question, and we too are preoccupied by inflation, which we know is on the rise around the world, and it's on the rise to a lesser degree here in Canada, but we understand the price at the pump is going up. We understand the pressures at the grocery store, Mr. Speaker, which is why, with our price on pollution, 8 out of 10 Canadians receive more money. And let's just talk about Ontario, the honourable member's province. People there will get $745 more in their pockets than they pay. In my own province, it's almost $1,100. Mr. Speaker, we're focused on affordability, and we will continue to do it throughout this inflationary cycle.
The honourable member for Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
While Canadians find themselves having to choose between putting gas in their cars and food on the table, and while this government is stoking inflation with continued deficit spending, the Prime Minister says, let them eat cake. While the wine flows liberally, the board can't force one on the taxpayer's dime. Mr. Speaker, when will this government finally sober up and start putting Canadians first?
The Honourable Minister for Families.
This government is putting Canadians first, and we're always putting Canadians first. In fact, Mr. Speaker, in that member's province of Manitoba, we signed an early learning and childcare agreement where families on average are going to save $2,600 a year, Mr. Speaker. That's real money in the pocket pockets of families. And that's in addition to the Canada Child Benefit that children under 6 for the maximum could receive up to $7,000 a year. Mr. Speaker, this government is there for Canadians, Canadian families, Canadian children. That's real money in their pockets that's helping every single day with the high cost of living. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member de La Pointe de Lille. Mr. Speaker, the Institute for Research on Public Policy is an independent, bilingual, pan-Canadian organization that no one would suspect of having sovereignist sympathies. And yet, in a study conducted by this institute, it is estimated that the new Official Languages Act does nothing to reverse the decline of French. To halt the decline of French, C13 would have to be harmonized with Quebec's Charter of French Language. Does the minister understand that the only way to protect French in Quebec is to ensure that only Quebec's language laws apply to Quebec? The Honourable Minister of Official Languages. Thank you. I'd like to thank my colleague once again for his question. Mr. Speaker, we recognize that French is in decline in North America and that it is in Canada as well. And this is why we've moved forward with a new version of this bill with greater teeth to make sure that we can do our fair share to remedy this situation. And I hope once again that my Bloc friend will work with us to ensure that we can pass this bill as quickly as possible. Thank you. The Honourable Member for La Pointe de Lille. Repeating the question is not an answer. I know. Well, I quote the author of this study, economist Mario Polez. Today, equality between two languages is no longer enough because they are not equal in terms of their power of attraction or their importance, period. Therefore, we must give predominance to French. This is exactly the problem with C13. Why does a minister continue to put French and English on an equal footing in Quebec when only French is threatened there? Putting both languages on the same footing is like putting both feet on my language. The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, my honourable colleague is trying to mislead Canadians with respect to C13. This legislation has special provisions for federal-related organizations, and I really hope that my colleagues will work with us, all the opposition parties, because this bill is very important. It is currently at committee, and I hope they will stop playing politics.
Marie Cold Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After more than 2 years, the pandemic is no longer an acceptable excuse for poor service. Canadians are being forced to line up for hours outside Service Canada centres in order simply to get a passport on time. Meanwhile, it's been reported that 70% of Service Canada employees are working from home. When will the minister show leadership and bring these employees back to work?
The Honourable Minister.
First of all, I take issue with the member's question because let's be clear that when you're working from home, you're still working. But the first point here is that the numbers that she's quoting are for the entire 29,000 Service Canada workforce. When it comes to people who are in person, in office, Service Canada passport officers, almost 90% of them are back in the office. Those that are working from home are doing so for medical reasons, but they're still able to support the delivery of services. Mr. Speaker, it's important to get the facts right here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for South Shore St. Margaret's.
Well, clearly the number of Service Canada personnel working from home isn't working, and the fishermen in my riding can't work from home. Living in rural Canada, we can't get food delivered from our favorite restaurants like pizza. We must pick it up. No business charges for pickup. Yet Immigration Canada demands that Service Canada charge a $20 fee to pick up a passport, causing lots of complaints. This is nothing more than a Liberal tax grab. Why is this Liberal government making Canadians pay for their failures?
The Honourable Minister.
I feel the Conservatives need to understand that throughout the pandemic, people in the private sector, in the public sector worked from home, and they were working. The vast majority of Canadians who are working from home were working very, very hard. And Mr. Speaker, I think they owe those employees an apology technology. When it comes to the fees, those should be waived. That has been the directive. I will reinforce that with my department. However, people who work from home are still hardworking. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Montmagny, Lisée, Kamouraska, Rivière-du-Loup. Mr. Speaker, until last week, people used to bring their camping chairs to wait in front of passport offices. Now they're bringing their tents because they have to wait there all night. It doesn't make sense. When we ask questions to the minister, she says that the number of requests are up on last year. But that's not true. Right now, there are fewer requests than before the pandemic. But people are calling us, and we need an answer from the government. Why is this government not solving this problem by ordering employees come back to work rather than staying at home? The Honourable Minister. I understand the frustration of Canadians, but the Conservatives are confused. They're not talking about the same people. Service Canada has almost 30,000 employees countrywide, and those who are meeting the passport requests are doing so in person. They're already back at the office. The question is really in terms of volume. Usually, we receive the same volume over 12 months, but we're going to make sure that the Canadians do receive their documents. Thank you. The honourable member for Sudbury. Mr. Speaker, in order for Canadians to benefit fully and prosper in the digital economy, we need to ensure that they have confidence in the protection of their data and that their privacy is respected. Canadians have never been more reliant on the digital economy, but the current privacy legislation was last updated before the advent of technologies such as social media and smartphones. Can the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry update us on how the modernization of these laws will benefit Canadians? The Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question and for excellent work and leadership. As my colleagues have said, there is great enthusiasm for what we did earlier today. We introduced the Digital Charter Implementation Act 2022. It will give people more power to protect their personal data and their children, and this is how we'll ensure that Canadians can benefit from the latest technologies, noting that their personal information is safe and secure and that businesses are acting responsibly. Mr. Speaker, trust and safety are keywords in this digital era.
Perth, Wellington.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's Conservatives will always stand up for our arts and culture sector. That's right. But in the dead of the night, the Liberals rammed through dozens of amendments to C11 without debate or explanation. In fact, the Liberal chair of the committee wouldn't even allow Canadians to know what was being voted on. Not one amendment to clearly exclude user-generated content was approved.
I'm just going to interrupt. It's the noise is getting to a level I'm having a hard time hearing the question. I'm going to ask the honourable member to take it from the top, and we'll see if we can hear it.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals don't want to hear the truth, and the truth is that Conservatives are the ones standing up for digital-first creators. It's Conservatives who are standing up for free expression online so that new technology, new experiences can be used and explored not only here in Canada, but find success around the globe. But in the dead of night, the Liberals pushed through amendments, rammed through amendments without a single amendment that would support and clearly exclude user-generated comment. Mr. Speaker, why all the secrecy? Why the disrespect to Parliament? What is the government hiding?
The Honourable Minister for Canadian Culture Heritage.
Mr. Speaker, everyone knows that the Conservative, when they wake up in the morning, they think about filibustering, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
And when they go to bed at night, they think about filibustering, Mr. Speaker. And what do they do in between? They filibuster, Mr. Speaker. That's what they do. They've abandoned the creators. They've abandoned
Are we okay to go again? Order. Order. Very good. The Honourable Member for Edmonton Mill Woods.
Mr. Speaker, as we just heard, the Liberals have shut down debate on Bill C-11. In fact, MPs voted on over 100 amendments without any debate at all. The Liberals are actually changing what Canadians see online without debate and behind closed doors. It is clear from expert testimony that this bill will allow CRTC to regulate user-generated content. That's why, through a series of vital amendments, the Conservatives tried to fix this bill. But our common sense amendments were shot down by the Liberals and the NDP without any debate. Shame. When will the government listen to some reason and fix this disastrous bill?
The Honourable Minister for Canadian Heritage.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think that the Conservatives should support this bill because this bill is about creators. It's about creators. It's gonna help them because they're very, very creative with the truth, Mr. Speaker. That's what they are. Now, if they read the bill, they would know that it's about online platforms contributing to our culture, and they have a problem with that. It's a shame, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
Well, it is a matter of fact that on Tuesday, this government, under a cloak of secrecy, did in fact thwart democracy. At the committee, the NDP and Liberal government took Bill C-11 and forced it through without adequate debate or adequate testimony from witnesses.
Order. Order. I'm having a hard time hearing the questions as well as the answers. I mean, we really calm things down. The Honourable Member for Lethbridge, if I can ask her to start over so we can hear the whole question.
It is in fact true that on Tuesday we saw democracy thwarted, we saw a cloak of secrecy used. At the command of the NDP Liberal government, Bill C-11 was forced through committee without adequate consultation with witnesses and adequate debate on amendments. No listening, no discussion, just ram it through. That was their mode of operation. It was censorship upon censorship. Canadians are rightly frustrated and very concerned by the assault that this has on their online freedom. So my question is very simple. Is the Minister and the Prime Minister, either could answer or both could answer, do they truly believe that this is transparency according to what they've promised Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for Canadian Heritage.
Well, one of the benefits of the conversation of today, Mr. Speaker, is that we heard one of the best jokes of the year when they said that they care about culture, Mr. Speaker. That's right. That was really, really, really funny. Now, that was a hell of a secret meeting when the room was full of Conservatives and Stafford and others. That was very, very secret, Mr. Speaker. But the problem is that they kept filibustering. My colleague who just spoke filibustered for a full hour when I was sitting there ready to answer a question. She spoke for the full hours. I had to go, I couldn't speak. Luckily, I could come back and explain our position, Mr. Speaker. But the position is clear. We're there for creators, for our artists, for our culture, and they've been abandoning them.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Bonavista Burin Trinity.
Mr. Speaker, this is the Canadian Coast Guard's 60th anniversary of serving Canadians by helping mariners in need, protecting our marine ecosystem, ensuring safe passage through Canada's waterways. I was thrilled to hear that the Canadian Coast Guard College held its first in-person graduation ceremony since 2019, welcoming 51 graduates from its officer training program into the Canadian Coast Guard. Mr. Speaker, Canadians owe these graduates an enormous debt of gratitude for the future challenges they will face. Would the Minister kindly inform the House of the important work done at the college and the importance of the Canadian Coast Guard College in Canada?
The Honourable Minister for Fisheries and Oceans.
I want to thank the Honourable Member from Bonavista Burin Trinity for his excellent work on behalf of his constituents. Canadian Coast Guard College meets the highest international standards of training in navigation, in engineering, and in training Coast Guard members to keep our citizens and waterways safe on all three coasts and many waters in between. So I want to thank every member of the Canadian Coast Guard for their service on this special anniversary and to congratulate recent graduates who persevered in their studies throughout the pandemic and are now joining one of Canada's most trusted institutions.
The Honourable Member for Churchill-Kiewatnik-Askey.
Mr. Speaker, York Factory First Nation has lost its lifeline. It's ferry for longer. The community is now isolated and needs immediate assistance. It also needs an all-weather road. Climate change is already wreaking havoc here. As the groundbreaking report from the Canadian Climate Institute indicates, urgent federal action is needed now across our north, including by building all-weather roads. My bill C-245 supports this work. Will the Liberals invest in all-weather road access for York Factory and support my bill to invest in our communities that are on the front lines of climate change?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it's an all too sad reality that, in fact, climate change disproportionately affects Indigenous communities. Of course, I'll continue to work with all Indigenous communities, including York Factory, on making sure that our infrastructure is resilient, and as we rebuild and replace infrastructure, that it meets the climate challenges that we are all facing together. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Mr. Speaker, regarding government financing of the TMX pipeline, in written answers to questions on the order paper, government is claiming that a BMO and TD review make this project financially viable, but, in quotes, these analyses remain due to commercial confidentiality, they won't release them. Previous TD reports on TMX were public. Why hide them now? It's entirely likely the government plans to write off financial risk and debt that leave us financially exposed. If it's so commercially viable, why can't we see the reports?
The Honourable Minister for Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know how important it is to get our product to market and to Tidewater, and the government does not intend to be the long-term owner of the Trans Mountain Pipeline. This is a project that has led to 12,700 jobs, and once completed, Canadians will enjoy full price for our oil on the world market. A divestment process will be undertaken once this project is essentially de-risked and once consultations with Indigenous peoples conclude. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have for questions today. C'est tout le temps. Pour les citoyens de toutes les régions du pays.
For Canadians across the
For Canadians everywhere in Canada, this is an opportunity to remember the sacrifices of military personnel.
In the gallery of 5 members of the Canadian Forces who are taking part in Canadian Armed Forces Day today. Adjoint Maître Guillaume Durand.
Guillaume Durand. First Master, First Class, Pascal Gilles Harel.
Michael Lee Moore. Master Bombardier Stephen Philippe Ricard. Warrant Officer Eric Arthur White. It being 3:12, the House will now proceed to taking of the Deferred Recorded Division on the motion regarding the appointment of Philippe Dufresne as Privacy Commissioner. Call in the members. La question est la suivante.
The question is as follows.
Just want to get it over, get going with it. It's nice to see cooperation in the House. La question est la suivante.
The question is as follows.
Seconded by Mr. Vandal, moved that in accordance with subsection 53(1) of the Privacy Act, RSC 1985, C, P 21, and pursuant to Standing Order 111.12, the House approved the appointment of Philippe Dufresne as Privacy Commissioner for a term of 7 years. La période de
The 10-minute period for members voting electronically has started, and the House will now proceed to the vote for members participating in person.
In favor of the motion will please rise.
Mr. Macaulay Cardigan.
Mr. Macaulay Cardigan.
Mr. Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Mr. O'Regan.
Mr. O'Regan.
Ms. Bennett.
Ms. Bennett.
Monsieur Duclos.
Monsieur Duclos.
Monsieur Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Garretson.
Mr. Garrison.
Mrs. Romanado.
Mrs. Romanado.
Monsieur Champagne.
Monsieur Champagne.
Monsieur Lametti.
Monsieur Lametti.
Mr. Algabra.
Mr. Algabra.
Monsieur Guilbeault.
Monsieur Guilbeault.
Ms. Hutchings.
Ms. Hutchings.
Madame Petitpas-Taylor.
Madame Petitpas-Taylor.
Monsieur Bois.